All right, welcome everyone. Welcome to the 18th Mile podcast. My name is Richard. I will be your host, and yeah, so this is my first time doing this thing, and essentially I started it because I wanted to document my journey as I prepare for the Vienna Marathon, and that way I can look back after what was it, about four and a half months until the actual race, where I can look back at the end of it and see how far I've come. Document the highs, document the lows, and just, able to re-experience it. So one day I can look back and be proud of what I accomplished with it. And this is my initial goal. I'm gonna be recording it for that, and then maybe I'll love it, and I'll continue afterwards. Maybe I hate it and I'll never do it again. So we'll see in 4.5 months, I guess. But who am I? So my name is Richard Papenfuss, and I'm originally from George in South Africa. I grew up there, moved there when I was 6, or in the area, stayed there until I finished high school. And after high school, I moved to Oklahoma in the United States, where I went to the University of Oklahoma, Boomer Sooner, and I studied accounting there, stayed there for 5 years, and moved down to Dallas, where I started my job, and stayed there for a year and a bit, and then now I am in London in the United Kingdom. So slowly making my way around the world. Whoever knows is next. So we'll see what happens. But so I've always been active. I've always played sports like cricket, golf, rugby. But it was really my time at OU where I got into personal fitness, and I just learned to love to challenge myself in different ways. Firstly, it was in rugby at OU, and then I did some Tough Mudders and Spartan races with my friends, and did my first marathon last year. So it's kind of got the itch again to try it again and do another race, and so here we are with Vienna coming up. But like I mentioned, I studied accounting. I've no business or right editing videos and recording podcasts, but I think it'll be a cool journey, a cool learning experience, and I'm here for it. And I think it's, I don't know, something I've always wanted to try. And here we are starting that. So, why, like I mentioned, do I want to do this? I want to document the journey of the training, because last year's training went by so quick that essentially you're training 5 days a week, and all those days kind of like mix into each other, and so you can't really remember everything. You remember maybe one or two runs, but one or two things that happened during the prep, but at the end of the day, you remember the race, and then after that it's kind of a blur. And I mean, 12 months later, where I'm right now, I can remember some moments, maybe because of a picture I took or something like that, but most of it is honestly just, I can't remember much of it. So this will be for my own sake, I think, for the most part, and hopefully someone else enjoys it. Hopefully other people who maybe want to challenge themselves find some form of inspiration from it. Maybe someone out there wants to do a half marathon or a 10K or a marathon race one day, and they find some form of useful tools, information, get some form of insight into what do you expect when you're training for something that's hard, and it's not going to be easy always, but it's also going to be fun. You're going to have good moments, especially if you do it with people, which I am. And then another reason I wanted to try this is I just think it's cool to try and learn modern technology skills and just new skills in general. And I've never recorded anything. Actually, I did one recording before where I recorded a grade 12 project video, but that was on my iPad, and so that was completely different. I was using, I think, iMovie. So I guess I've done one video, but I've never done anything properly more than once where it's, I don't know, just for my own sake of learning it, and hopefully the more time I spend doing this over the next 4 or 5 months, I can become decently good at least, with what I have planned for it. So just in general, what will I be sharing or what will I be documenting in the journey on my social media. So there'll be 3 broad categories. But on my social media, I will be sharing just short videos of my runs and maybe a thought of how I felt before the run, and then another clip of how I feel after the run. That way that's a more micro level of documentation that I can look back on and share with people. The second form would be this podcast, where I plan on having some people on as well, some friends and some people I don't know. And then also just weekly reviews of how the week's training has gone, how it went against what I expected, and also what the upcoming week will bring, and how I plan to tackle that. And then the third form of media would be longer form videos, mainly uploaded on YouTube, where I maybe chat more about the kind of things you look at when planning to run a marathon, like nutrition, equipment, like your shoes, maybe a recording watch, fueling before a run, during a run, after a run, how to recover, what kind of cross training to do in order to minimize an injury and also maximize running performance. So those would be the kind of videos that would come out with that. So those are right now the 3 broad categories that I've planned. That might change. That might change completely, or not completely, but there might be some stuff added and some stuff taken away. So we'll see how this plays out. In terms of frequency, that will depend on the category of content that I put out, right? And so Instagram, the shorter videos of my runs and my thoughts are going to be a lot more frequent. Most likely something that I put on every day, every other day, just because they're a lot easier to do, and obviously I'll be running just about every day. But yeah, so those will be much more frequent. The actual podcast reviews and some interviews with people, those would be more once a week. I'm still deciding on the day that I want to release those, so I'll let you know when that is decided. But those will be once a week, and maybe that increases. I'm thinking about doing it twice a week, like a midweek check-in and an end-of-week check-in. I think that'll be pretty cool. And for now it's once a week, just because I don't know how long it's going to take me to edit videos, and getting used to all the different factors of creating a podcast, which I didn't know at all. There's a lot of different moving parts, which makes me respect all the people who do podcasts now. And then my longer videos on YouTube would be once a week, because I'd want to put in effort and research those and get some information for myself as I prep for this, because I want to take it to a higher level than I did in Dallas, because my goal is 3:15 instead of Dallas. My goal is only 4 hours, so I'm going to have to be a little bit more locked in this time. But yeah, so those will be once a week, and I think that will stay once a week. Maybe I'll be able to edit videos quicker than after about two or so months, and I can ramp those up to twice a week as well. But that'll change as I plan the content out over the next few weeks and the next few months. So, yeah. And then, like I mentioned earlier, if you want to do a race, if you want to do something like this, the best way to ensure you stick to it, the best way to ensure you keep yourself accountable, which I think is important in something like this, just because it's so hard, is to do it with friends. And so I will be doing the race with some friends of mine who have agreed to, for some reason, do a marathon as well, which is sometimes hard to convince people of. So that'll be how I'll stay accountable in terms of training. And then on the podcast itself, I have for example, my buddy Kurt, who I ran the Dallas Marathon with, will join me here soon for an episode. And that way we can just talk about our first experience of a marathon, what we expected, how training went, did it meet our expectations, what are the kind of things we didn't expect, and just chat, you know. So that'll be more like a normal interview podcast, and then most of the episodes will be myself, and then as people agree to come on, I'll try and get some people on that I think would be cool to have, that I think will add value to just the overall journey, and hopefully they can add some good information. And then in terms of where I'll be sharing the content, just all the platforms: Spotify, Apple Podcasts. I saw Google Podcasts was a thing as well, which I didn't know. YouTube, Instagram would be on my short videos, and I'll probably release those on YouTube as well. But yeah, so that was the overall scheme of what I plan to do for the next 4 months. Hopefully it's a good journey full of growth and a new marathon PR of 3:15. I have some plans that I want to do after this marathon within fitness. I'll probably continue this documentation journey further. So this is the start of a cool new personal side project that I can do. And in the meantime, maybe it motivates people to try something that they've been wanting to try at some point and have put it off, like I have, and just challenge themselves. So hopefully you guys enjoy the journey with me over the next 4.5 months, and it is something that we can all enjoy. And yeah, you know, let's go. And I forgot to mention, the name is the 18th mile. Why is it the 18th mile? Well, because usually in the marathon, runners typically hit what they call the wall, which is just this moment in the marathon where it just feels extremely hard. Your energy levels are low, your glucose reserves are used up, you're dehydrated most likely, you're cramping up. You can see the finish line, but you still got 6 or 8 miles to go, and so it's just really tough spot mentally where it's so easy to quit. But it's at this 18th mile where you have to break through the wall and, you know, conquer your mind, I guess, in that moment. And so I named it the 18th mile just because I think it's just a kind of a good example of how life is sometimes. You know, you get close to stuff, and then whether you win or lose all depends on if you stay believing in yourself, keep your confidence, keep your head down, and keep on working until you break through that wall. And once you get through that wall, you get the finish line, you get your results and your goals, and you grow. So yeah, all right. Appreciate you guys listening. Subscribe and follow on the podcast, and if anything new comes out, you'll get a notification, all that good stuff that people say on these kind of things. So we'll get better at this. This is episode 1, so alright, see you guys soon for episode 2. Cheers.